I prefer it to be turning into a habit, because disciplines die, motivation dies and fades. But if you have habits, you can do quite a bit. So one of the habits that I stayed with for a long time, I haven't had a real job in like 6.5 years. I got out of the military a while ago now. One of those habits was I still got up early.
Welcome to the Path to Passive podcast, where we talk about building wealth and empowering lifestyle through commercial real estate investing for tech professionals. I always wish that other tech professionals reaching financial freedom had documented their journey along the way, so I'm doing it for the rest of us. Join us as we explore stories, many failures, and lessons learned along the way. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today, my guest is the owner of Landsharks and is an investor and coach with a focus on buying and selling vacant land. The thing about this one that makes it particularly interesting is that he was an Army officer with over 8 years of service, spending a great deal of time away from his family, knew he needed to make some changes in order to be more present with his wife and children. He talks about very being present in life and building a life that he enjoys, has fun with, and while working hard as well, really wants to make sure he has more of the time for the fun in life, being with the family, and building a life of meaning. So, we get into how he invests, how he finds land, favorite investment strategies, and how you can be either an active investor or a passive investor with land. He gives some case studies, talks about, does a really great job of setting up the scenario with, lender Larry and, seller Sam, or in this case, seller Steven, as he was using me as a prop for this example. And it was just really fun. I also got to ask some questions about how he brought over certain disciplines and into the investing space. So for any of you veterans that are also listening in, stay tuned for that aspect. But I think just overall, it was really cool because he gave some practical advice and really got to dive into some of those nuances too. So if you're interested in how to invest in land, you're a veteran, especially, this is someone that has the experience from not only these domains of being an officer, but also going into entrepreneurship and real estate, but brings in some great ideas as well, that celebrating those small wins and not just sort of lip service, but how you would go about doing that. And I think those are the things that you need to have high commitment at first to really succeed in anything that you do. And so I really enjoy talking to Brent. I hope you enjoy listening to this. As usual, please like, subscribe, share, drop a comment, or just email to me directly. Don't need any of those other things there, but I'd love to hear from you. Who else should we have on the show? What do you need to learn about? What might you be stuck on that you think, hey, I would really like to know about this thing so I can go help get some more guests or do something specifically for you. You are my customer. You're my listener here as well. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy this episode, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Hey, my next guest is the owner of Landsharks, expert investor and coach, military veteran, and ex-Army officer. He chooses to live his life by the Bob's Burgers quote: "Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first." Passionate about helping other people find success in real estate investing, in particular in land investments. Dude, Brent, welcome to the show. For those who are just getting to know you and just learning about you, who are you? Like, tell us how you got here in real estate.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks, Steven, for having me, man. Doing what you do. This It's not easy to run these podcasts and edit them and all that. So, hats off to you, my man. Who am I? I'm a family man. I'm a Christ follower, husband. I got 3 kids. I have multiple businesses, so I can connect with the audience listening to this. I know a lot of tech guys, very smart guys, and working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. That's not why I got into business,
Mm.
but I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I'm always out of balance. Some weeks I'll work like crazy, and then I just got off a 3-week vacation. So now I'm back to it, and I look at that on my reports too. I call it my EPLS, my easy peasy lemon squeezy reports. Basically, it's a financial report for each one of my businesses that a non-technical, non-numbers guy can understand with a lot of pictures and arts and graphs and colors. But I notice it in my monthly income. It goes up huge and down. So I'm trying to, I'm always out of balance. And you said expert investor. I wouldn't call myself an expert in anything. I just I have a business that I call it's financial freedom. That's why I got into this business. I love the who not how book behind you. I
Mhm.
just surround myself with smart people, and I'm really good at finding other people to help me out with things. And I have a business. I call it passive income. However, I think that's kind of smoke and mirrors. Like at one time, I had to work to get this to become passive. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I hope
Awesome.
that explains it.
Yeah, that does. We got, obviously you have, your values. It's kind of a life by design, right? You're talking about the who, not how. Anyone who doesn't know, Dan Sullivan, entrepreneur coach, go listen to his book, especially the 10X is easier than 2X. Just the models of living, big deal. But what you were talking about there about, financial independence, financial freedom, as well as family and, the 3 weeks of vacation you just had as well. Like the real estate and land here, it's a vehicle to make these things happen, right? But you also were very transparent here about, is passive income a thing? It took you time to get there. And is it now? Is it stabilized? Sure, but not likely, I'm sure, without systems and processes and whatnot too, which is very relatable to this audience. So thanks for being transparent on that right out the gate. And so let's get into this. You're, land sharks, land coach, land, and, investor. What is the model, or maybe one of the models, whichever one you want to start with, that
Yeah.
you primarily do when we're talking about land investing with land sharks?
Yeah, my number one way to make income is through selling vacant raw land. It's just simple parcels. It could either be residential or rural or infill buildable lot or recreational. I don't care as long as I can see other land selling and I get it at a discount and then I sell it for more. It's that simple. It's like finding a used bicycle on the side of the road in the trash, airing up the tires and putting it on Facebook Marketplace and selling it. That's all I do with land, really. And my preferred way to sell land is I want to sell it on seller financing. I want to be the bank. I want to allow people to make payments to me for as long as possible because that's where the passive aspect comes to this. And then I take that cash flow and I invest it into more passive cash flowing assets like, small buildings, industrial buildings, on triple net leases. And I don't want to get into too much of that, but it all starts somewhere. We all make income, whether it be W-2 or from our ordinary income or our capital gains, flipping properties, flipping houses, flipping anything. It doesn't matter what we're flipping widgets. I'll just use that word.
Yes.
And then we need to invest that income into further cash flowing assets, passive assets, because we might eventually run out of energy and not be able to work that 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Like I have a lot of energy from about 9 a.m. till about 4 p.m. every day. But God willing, that lasts me a long time. But eventually that could run out,
Right.
So I want to have enough passive income assets generating me income to do it. So my main thing is I buy and sell vacant land, and I teach a lot of people how to do it as well with the Land Sharks program. But here's another thing: is like I get on these podcasts, and I always meet the most amazing people, especially the podcast host. But I do a lot of deals with other people on land deals as well, where they lend me money, and that's a true passive income.
Mm,
Where they lend the money on an asset, and now they have security in that asset via mortgage by a lien, the first lien position. We get them a title insurance policy, a lender's title insurance policy. And so I do a lot of partnerships where I work with people that truly want to be passive and not start an active business like I have with my land business. So I'll let you talk for a while.
No, that's great. I wanted you to go through that model, and I appreciate that, and I love the analogy. I think, as we know, like our ability to communicate and simplify so that anyone Joe Schmo off the street can really understand it. That analogy where you went, it's similar like getting the bicycle, pumping up the tires, and then flipping it. It doesn't matter what you're flipping; it could be widgets too. We use the term widgets a lot in tech in particular. So, doing something meaningful and having purpose, just creating widgets is what we say a lot. So I love that terminology. But I want to dive into that a little bit more. And then we'll go into the, the power of what you were talking about with partnerships. And I think, passive income, especially for tech professionals, very on message, very on brand to what they're thinking about too, to leverage their income to make income. How much money can I get for my money is the question, right? And so let's talk about that. You go to acquire land, you quote unquote pump up the tires, like do something to add value, and then you flip it, right? And one of the exit strategies sounds like, which is where the passive income part comes in, is doing the seller financing. So finding a way where you become the bank. Here's the asset that you own, you hold the note to, and someone pays you over time to pay off, that until it becomes quote unquote theirs, right? So tell me about, okay, so you go and find property wherever the market is this doesn't really matter where, let's say anywhere across the US that makes sense that you want to invest in. But let's dive more into the, what does this pump up the tires, add value to land look like? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's so many ways you can do it. One of the ways I add the value is I'm just a marketer. That's it. So I take one man's trash and it's another man's treasure. So, for instance, let me just give you an example. One of my first land deals, I'm going to use like the first land deal I ever did. I bought for $285 and it sold it for $5,000. So why wouldn't that gentleman have just sold it for $5,000? Well, it was trash to him. So he traded many years ago for this piece of land for some tax work. Turned out the land's not buildable because some reasons with the city and blah blah blah. Well, I couldn't figure out what it was worth, so I called a real estate agent and I said, "Hey, I'm wondering what this land is worth if you were to list it for me." She said $10,000, and I was like, "Holy cow! Why wouldn't this guy have just done this?" And the thing is, you just got to stop asking why people do things. One person could treat their wife like trash,
Mm,
and another man would love to have that woman as their wife. So you just got to like look at it that way. So that realtor made me an offer on the phone. She's like, "Hey, what if I just bought it from you for $5,000?" I was like, "Deal, let's do it." So I remarket it. That's it. So that was airing up the tires. Other times, I'll buy the land, I'll just do some amazing photos. I tell my realtors that listen, iPhone 15 won't cut it. I want some professional photos. I want drone videos. I want the border around the property. I want ground videos, like,
mhm,
and it needs to be like entertaining. So it's just remarketing it. That's it. Sometimes it's putting in a little circular driveway on the land or a culvert so they can
mhm,
access the land. Now, I don't do that stuff, but I have Landsharks that do that. They'll do a little clearing or build a board fence. I think it's absolutely incredible. They'll spend $1,000 on a board fence and get 5,000 more for the land. So that's the value adds. But here's how I value add. I do the photos. I do the really good it's better than most. It's not really good, but it's better than most marketing. And then I offer seller financing because I just opened up a huge buyer's pool because I'm greedy in business. I want to follow what the banks have done. They've got the biggest, prettiest buildings in every city and every state is because they know about compounding interest. So they take our money for free via checking account and they lend it out for a massive amount of interest. So a 30-year mortgage, just look at like many years ago, the average 30-year mortgage was 200,000 at 6% interest. Well, if you pay back every single payment on time and never refinance, never sell that property, you can pay back $420,000.
totally.
That's not 6%. That's 6% on the balance you originally borrowed. That's $1,200 a month payment.
Right.
But if you pay it off, I mean, if you sell that property or you refinance it or build on it and get a construction loan, and the first 7 years, you pretty much just paid a boatload of interest and hardly paid down the principal. So I just kind of follow what the banks do, and I sell the land on payments at an interest rate and earn interest on money, or basically print money. That's it.
Be the bank. Yeah. Two giant nuggets. I mean, a couple, like three, I'll say two and a half really massive takeaways. The first one, since it's more recent, you were just talking about, is being the bank. And it doesn't matter what it is, right? Anyone that's just getting in real estate, whether that's like private money lending, private money loans, like, oh, hard money, same thing, right? But in this case, that seller financing, that owner financing. And that tidbit of doing the math at quote unquote face value, you don't have to get very far to think, okay, it's not 6%, it's 6% per month. And the way they actually do the amortization on it, 30 just makes it a whole lot more. So the 200 to 400 some odd dollars for sure. Um, but going back to what you were saying about the value add, and the value add here, like you were saying, is just being a good marketer. And I appreciate your humility on, not being expert and, this and that and the other, but good enough, quote unquote, good enough to make to see what's possible. Right. And I think that's kind of the value add, and understanding things to know what you could do with it. The point of don't ask why people do or don't anymore, it's you got to them first kind of thing. And seeing the possibility is where it kind of is too, right? So being able to broker deals and seeing, would you say that it's kind of like the art of the deal in a lot of ways, like seeing what's possible is the art of the deal?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just being creative, it's just yeah, it's all art. There's no science behind this. Thank God, because I was terrible in science. Um, but yeah, that's it. I love being a deal finder. You can also be a deal creator. If you're a deal finder's like, hey Brent, I want to sell my land today. You know, I need money fast. Give me 30,000. I know it's worth 90. I don't care. I just need 30,000 yesterday. That's a deal finder. Now, Brent, the land's worth 90,000. I want 90,000. If you can't give me 90,000, go drop dead. Well, Steven, listen, hey, what if I paid you that 90,000 for many, many years? You got payments and you were like a bank. Would you be open to that? No, Brent, I want 90,000. Oh, you like paying a lot of taxes, Steven. What do you mean? Well, if I give you $90,000 over the next 30 years, like I can help you like reduce that tax burden. And you got to be really careful how you say that. Well, what are you talking about? Well, Stephen, you wouldn't be open to taking $500 a month for this land for like a long time, would you? Yeah, I'd be open to that. I'm not earning anything on it now. Okay, great. So we do a deal. I paid $90,000 for it over whatever 15 years, $500 a month. I know that math doesn't compute. I'm just using an
I
example.
got you. I got you.
Well, now I find Bob the buyer. He wants to own a piece of land so bad in Austin, Texas. I'm going to sell him this piece of land for $90,000, exactly what it's worth. But I need $15,000 down and $700 a month at 12% interest for 30 years. I just created money out of thin air. That's being a deal creator
I I so love
or
this. I
a deal
gotta
maker. Deal maker. Sorry.
Yeah, I think this is so cool because, I remember the first time, like, really, really, like, learning about this and this guy's part, and I'm like, oh my god, it's just like this. It's simple math, but seeing how you could do it, and once you learn the strategy, you can really just rinse and repeat, and you get better and better and better, just like anything else. And for all my tech professional colleagues listening, it's like this is so much easier than learning cloud and IT technologies.
Oh my God. Yeah. I was in the military. I was a communications specialist, and they had me in C++ and all these things I've forgotten. But I was like, I fell asleep taking those courses. I'm just like, this is not me.
Yeah, yeah. So cool. We talked a little bit about the strategies there. It's definitely, doing the marketing, however that goes, and I've done other episodes what that looks like too. I'm sure you're doing maybe things like cold calls, finding host sellers who are doing it, doing mailings and as well, maybe some ads here and there, and of course, your own content to say this is what I do to get you some leads. Is that about right?
Yeah, yeah, and I have few simple foundations of marketing that I prefer to get these deals in my inbox,
Hmm.
because I want to talk to people that want to talk to me. We've tested out other marketing channels. Yeah, we got some amazing pay-per-click ads happening. We got one of the best cold callers in the country. But my foundation is I love to get these letters back in my inbox or mailed to me or faxed. This is gonna you're I just lost half your audience.
Yeah.
I get faxes from this company called myfax.com. It's $12 a month. But think about it. When I'm buying land from 55 plus year old people, they still understand the fax machine. So they'll go to Staples and fax it back to me, sign my purchase agreement. I'll send it to the title company. I'll send it to my realtor. They'll list it for me while I'm in the process of buying it. Now, it's not legal in every state. So you got to know your laws. But yeah, sometimes I don't even have to buy this land before I sell it because I have it under contract.
Yep. Yep. Got you. Option to do whatever you want with it. That is so good, and it's such a good testament to knowing who your audience is. In this case, who your seller is, and
Mhm.
if there's someone that's 55 plus, I mean, you got to meet them where they're at, right? It doesn't matter, who you're talking to. Who is this person? So,
Yeah, that's true.
as funny as that sounds about the fax machine giant bulky thing that many of us used to have. It's like the people that you're talking to still got it. Cool. So we talked a little about going to find the deals. In your case, you have the channels that show up your inbox, which makes the best deals too, because they're hungry. There's a need for you to help fulfill right away. Look at the opportunities to solve the problem of, can you owner finance this some way, and then find someone else to, create some even more spread to create the passive income that we're talking about through an asset like land. And that's where the passive part comes in for the deal. But then you also talked about partners as well. You talked about partners being, if you or other land sharks, as an example, go and find the deal, they're doing the quote unquote active side of work, but they need some cash as well. Talk to me about what someone, again, tech professionals listening, they've got 25, 30, 40, 50 grand that they want to place
Mhm.
as an example of how would they work with someone like you for a land deal so they can also quote unquote
Yeah.
get that passive income for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great question. So I used to do land deals in accordance to what I had in my bank account. Now, if I didn't have it in my bank account, I would wholesale the deal or assign the contract. I would get it under contract. Say Sam the seller or Steven the seller wants to sell me a piece of land. And you sell it to me for 10,000, but it's worth 20,000. So I go and let's just say I don't have the 10,000. Well, I get it under contract with you, and I say, hey, Steven, I'm not going to hold this land. I've got other buyers that buy these parcels, and basically, I'm a marketer. That's it. I'm a guerrilla marketer. So I always tell people what I'm up to. And then I go out and find who's buying the land in that area of Austin or wherever it's at. And I say, hey, Bob, the buyer, I see you just bought a parcel. I got another parcel. I'll give you a smoking hot deal on it. I'm asking like 16,000 for it. Any reason why you wouldn't want to buy it? Well, Brent, I'm actually paying 15 grand for those. Well, Bob, if you pay 15 today, you can have it. So Bob says yes. I assign that contract to Bob. I make a quick 5 grand. But if I would have bought it for 10, I could have sold it for 20 on seller financing and basically collected 45,000 over the next 6 or 7 years. So what's the better deal? Sometimes it's assigning it, sometimes it's that passive income. So I reach out to lender Larry, say, hey Larry, I need $10,000. I'll pay you 8.5% interest. You're gonna have the first lien position on this land, and I think I can sell it for 20. And I prefer to get seller financing payments on it. But if you'd rather get your cash back quickly, let me know, and I'll just sell it quick for cash. So I like to marry the land deal with the lender. So when I started getting lending partners, my ability to close on land deals just skyrocketed. So I increased my marketing. It gave me extra. Like as business owners, there's one thing we have to have is confidence, and we got to protect it daily and build it daily. So when
100%.
I have a lender that's got $500,000, I could do $500,000 deals now.
Yeah. Yeah. There is two different scenarios there. If you've heard if you're already familiar with the wholesaling thing, like you said, you're looking to get it from seller Steven here for the 10,000, find someone. And really the hustle there is making sure, or at least ahead of time there too, to build your buyers list, right? So that you have people that how much they're wanting to buy land for. In this case, you said, hey, they're looking for a 16, but you would flip it for, or you would sell it for a 15. So that would be your exit on one scenario. But on the other is going back to the same Stellar Steven to lock it down, for 10 grand. And so that you would have, quote unquote, bought it using, lender Larry stuff, and then going to sell it for 20 grand at seller financing. Now, when you're talking about partners, are you talking about really like just the debt, or are you actually giving partners equity in that deal as well?
Yeah, I usually do a lender just at them there as a lender. That's just the easiest way to go. It reduces their liability.
Mhm.
It keeps me from having to ask for permission to sell it for whatever I want to. So yeah, they're a straight lender. They get a mortgage and a promissory note, or a mortgage and a deed of trust. They have the lien on it. They get a lender's title insurance policy. So I don't know. I just call it lending partner. It's just
Cool.
something I like to
All good,
say.
all good. I mean, I doesn't matter. I just wanted to clarify of what that looks like because I'm poking at this from the investor perspective.
Yeah.
So if I am investor Ivan, oh my God, all these names, Brent, then
Let me
you
write it
know,
down.
then I'm looking to place that cash with you. You're talking about, hey, 8% back just as an example for this situation, 8% back on the loan that I'd be giving to you so that you can go buy, the land, or whoever land shark can go buy the land, right? And so as investor, I'm expecting my money to be tied up for, again, just this scenario, maybe 6 months or
Hmm.
so, but I would be getting that 8%. Let's just use 10%, easy math.
Yeah.
So 10% for that money over that 6 months. Is that about right? And then I get all of my money principal back.
Yeah, and even easier. Kind of. And let me tell you, like, you could do this any way you see fit. It depends on the deal. I mean, sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, I've done 6 month loans as well, but so technically, 10% in 6 months, that'd be a 12. I'm sorry, that would be a 20% per annum loan. What you just said there.
Hmm.
So you're technically earning 20% on your money over a 1 year period. So for easy math, I've set it up. This is just because I like to think simple. I think things should be put in their simplest form. Is, for instance, I'm going to borrow Stephen from you $100,000 on a piece of land that's worth 190, and I'm going to pay you 10% interest only. Actually, let's just do 12%. 12% interest only payments per annum. So that's like $1,000 a month. You're going to be making interest. And then when I sell it, that $1,000 a month ends. So if I sell it in 9 months, you make $9,000. If I sell it in 12 months, you make $12,000.
That is cool. I just wanted to break that down from the investor perspective. So makes a lot of sense. Now, you're obviously owner of, owner, investor coach on Landsharks. Talk to me a little bit about, who's the right fit for someone that's listening, or like, what, I do have this tech job, but, you know, I hate my life, so I want to go into this full time as well. just kind of kidding. But they're interested in doing the active, learning to do land in an active investing way as well. Who does that person need to be? Like, what time investment? What should
Yeah.
they do? What's the first step? Where do they go? To do that,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about. I guess we sort of talked about that from the passive side already. What that model looks like, but we'll explore that passive side a little bit after. Tell me about the active side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I put out thousands of video, or I should say thousands. Oh, I would say a little over 1,000 videos on my TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. You can find me Brent L Bowers, and yes, the L stands for Lana. I changed my middle name. No, Brent L Bowers. But I teach like all these methods on my channels. But who is that person? It takes a little time. This takes time. I call it an hour a day. Now, you could set up a lot of systems and processes to really reduce that time. But people help you with that as well. I have a full-time office manager, full-time bookkeeper, and some help as well as far as acquisition managers. We're doing land deals right now while I speak because they're so lucrative, and people will help you do them. But that person, you need a little bit of money, a few dollars. I mean, marketing makes it easier. But if you don't have marketing money, then it's just going to take you a little bit more than an hour a day. There's free ways to do this as well. I just hung up with one of my land sharks, and he's like, Brent, I don't have any money, and I do have the hour a day. So like, he's doing free marketing techniques, and I've seen it many times over. If you do it for long enough, it's just a matter of time when the deal comes. But a lot of people, we have crazy jobs. We're super busy, but we've got a little discretionary income we can throw at marketing. Then there's some exact steps you can take, as far as finding the right list, sending those land offer letters out. The LOLs is what I call it. It's just simply a purchase agreement. If anybody wants a copy of it, just go to the landsharks.com/LOL, as in land offer letter, or laugh out loud, because you just got a smoking hot land deal. But it's really getting assets under contract and controlling that asset and making money from that asset. That's it. So you need a little time. That's the main thing.
I was like, LOL, LOI, laugh out loud. It's a good one. Hour a day, Brent, dude, sounds too good to be true. It would be one
Yeah,
of the first things I'm hearing pop up.
it
It's
is.
like a couple dollars from there from the marketing, of course, where we know operational excellence and scale here on this podcast as tech professionals. But is this an hour a day after I spend 20 hours or so learning the basics?
Oh, that's
Because,
good.
is this like, dude, Brent, I'm tech, I've studied tech, I know tech inside and out. But I know almost jack, what, about like real
Hmm.
estate and stuff. And you're also a marketer. Like, I have all these obstacles in my brain right now. Like,
Yeah,
like, how much realistically do I need to do before I start spending the 1 hour a day? Because if I do one
yeah, I
hour a
love
day, that's
that.
only 7 hours a week, man.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, if you spend an hour a day just watching YouTube and then trying to take action on the YouTube University, there's too many different ways you can do this. You know, I'm not trying to plug my course here, but I show exactly what to do in that hour a day. But yeah, it is too good to be true. Like, you could build the body of your dreams,
Hmm.
in an hour a day. I've proven that. I've been going to the gym for an hour a day, 5 days a week now for almost 3.5 years, and it's crazy what you can do. But now I can't go eat donuts and drink beer every day. Um, so it is you would be surprised. It's so easy to do. It's simple not to do as well. But yeah, it's just the way I built the Landsharks course. I hate these online courses. Give me the exact steps it take to get a result as quick as possible.
Right.
So if I can get someone paid on their first land deal in 90 days or less, they're going to be hooked. But it's just doing the basic foundations of getting a land deal, and that's income producing activities. That's not setting up a website. Sorry, tech guys. That's not developing a logo. That's not opening up an LLC. That none of that stuff makes you money. That costs you money. But here's the things that make you money. I got to get in front of land sellers and get a deal under contract, and then the work really starts, because now I got to sell that deal. Those are the income producing activities: buying the deals and selling the deals.
Thank you. That's awesome. I want to magnify that too, because I think the gold nuggets are majoring into major things, right? You said the thing about, you alluded to it, which was the thing about these things is that they're easy to do, but they're easy not to do, which is a Jim Rohn thing, right? Uh, but
Oh, you heard that.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. And in this case, the hour a day is focusing on the 20%. We're big on Pareto here, big on, making sure that you're focusing on things you're getting the highest ROI. And I'll also, attest to that, 3 to 5 times a week, CrossFit hour a day. And that just means I'm not going out there to drink and doing this and that. Uh, and even if I do, it's calculated, but focusing on the 20%, right? Diet, etc. And so to that end, knowing what to focus on and the activities are the steps, because getting in front of sellers and getting in front of buyers are really the things that are that you're talking about, right? And I'm sure as part of the course, along with building brand and being a good marketer, which is a skill set in its own. So I don't think that the hour or so really is far fetched at all, but I think it is knowing the precise things to spend on that hour. And like we talked about earlier, not only partners in an active passive perspective, but knowing that, like, the who not how book, like you pointed out earlier, it's having people. It's like, even I'm just going to share this, not to go into this too far, but one of the things I really had to learn at the start was that my asset of knowing tech was a liability for me in business, because I thought, oh, I can do tech, I can set these things up. But it took me it took me longer to do those versus just find someone that I could pay to do it good enough so that I could do the value add activities like get in front of sellers and buyers. So just double clicking on that one. Um, what are some of the other, if you could maybe off the top of your head, and I'll give you a second to think about this. Some of the other things that people might be coming to you objection wise. Brent, this sounds good. I'm totally bought in the land. I understand the model you're talking about doing this active. Do make sure I'm working on the right things through what you teach and free content, or maybe I want to check out your course, or I want to do it passive for this podcast. But well, I still have this insert my own limiting belief about why I can't do this. I
Yeah.
still don't, whatever. What are
Yeah.
some of those things that come to mind?
Yeah, maybe this works for you, Brent, or it works for Lance or Jen. But I've tried out a lot of stuff, and I haven't been successful at any. I've done all these multi-level marketing programs, but it's just my biggest thing is I got to give people the confidence and the permission and the belief that they can do it. And I've set that up with the Landsharks community. Is like we have these weekly calls, sometimes several a week, and the first thing people have to share is a win. Hey, I got my first land deal today, or hey, I've made my first paycheck, or hey, I just got my list out. So it's believing that it's all set up on a series of wins. You don't just make 100 grand a month in land. You got to start with picking a playground, picking a market, picking an area, pricing it out, getting the marketing out, or cold calling, or whatever it is. It's just believing that you can just do those series of steps. We call them small wins that really add up. And then it's again, a lot of people won't spend the money to mail those letters, even though they see it working for everybody else until they track those key performance indicators, those KPIs, and they understand that every time I spend a dollar, I'm going to make $1.37 back, or some cases $12 back.
Hmm.
So you have to shift that mindset where it's like, okay, this is not just money going into the atmosphere. This is money that's going to turn into a return on investment. So it's just figuring out those, and I still struggle. I was in the airport the other day. This is an embarrassing story. Trying to get my wife into the Sky Club. We flew on Delta, first class. I was like, I thought you can get in there for free when you're flying first class, but I had to pay $50. And my stupid Amex Platinum card got denied. And I was just like, oh, I hate when this happens. But what happened? I had just gotten hit the same day with a mailing expense, pay per click, and paid my cold
Mm,
callers.
yeah.
So there went like 8 grand,
Yep.
bam. And
Yep.
I was just like, oh, and it hit me like a bag of rocks in the stomach. I was like, oh man, I just spent all that money. But then I got to look at it like, wait a minute, that $8,000 should turn into about 24,000.
Right.
So who will spend 8,000 to make 24,000?
All day.
Most people, most business people. And sometimes some months that 8,000 could turn into a 10x, 80,000. It depends, but here's the average over the last, 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the thing I have to constantly shake myself about, and I'm sure that's, it's just sort of a human nature thing, is to remind myself, oh, it's knowing your numbers. And we hear this, the familiar of knowing your numbers, but for every dollar that you put in, what does that end up being? Right. And that is whatever the metrics are for every unit of input in, what do I get out? Not to make it too clinical, but just basic math. It's like what does that convert to talk business / marketing speak on that. So um yeah, knowing numbers, small wins, and building the confidence. I think key point on this one too is is shifting the mindset probably on this one too. Maybe you want to, you can add something to this. Is you probably see a lot of people that come in and they're used to being in competitive environments and they're seeing other people win and they get discouraged because they're winning, I'm not winning, right? What would you say about that sort of mentality of like being able to celebrate each, other people's wins, even though I've been doing this and haven't struck land gold yet?
Yeah, it's hard for a lot of people because it's just like, well, I see it's so easy. Like, it's so easy for Charlie or Robert. Like, he seems like he just strikes gold every time he sends. Why is it not working for me? It's just about getting, and so I'm picturing so many people. I don't want to say their real names, but it's like, okay, tomorrow you got to wake up and do it again. I mean, business is like not for the faint of heart.
Yeah,
Like I still have problems constantly. Like I just got a massive tax bill from the IRS. So like there's always a new challenge. Like it's never over. So it's just you just got to get up and fight another day and just keep reminding yourself that, John and Lisa and Sally and Bob and Bill, they've all done it, and you're taking the steps and you're doing it, and again, income producing activities, if you're going to do on the active side of this, like checking emails is not an income producing activity. Like email is the biggest waste of time ever. Like you wonder where your time's at. Oh, I don't have Netflix, I don't have Hulu, I don't have all those subscriptions. Well, how much time are you spending on your email?
for sure.
you know
Analyzing it. Yeah. The other thing I'll say about that too is feedback loops, right? And comparing, as cliche as it sounds, is comparing your chapter 2, like, on the journey compared to someone else's
yeah,
chapter, 10. It's like they've been doing it for you longer. They've gone over the same hurdles. There is no shortcut. They put in time, but they're measuring on those feedback loops. The win of them making that, doing that hour a day was the win. And right. And so,
yeah, it's all in your mind. I love that feedback loop. I picture the belief. The belief makes me take an action. That action gets me a result, and then that result gives me that belief. It's like a constant.
yep,
It's a constant spin.
flywheels.
So it's huge.
Yeah, perfect, man. So let's pivot a little bit here. I want to talk about the skills and the discipline that you brought over from being an officer. I was telling you about this before we started recording, and I've got listeners here, and we have a lot of veterans that come into the tech space as well, who still serve, who work in the companies but serve government and serve, they still live those values even though they're in the tech companies. So I'd love to hear from you a little about what you have brought over, what disciplines or what kind of beliefs, what kind of, things that, you have been trained in, how you integrate that to your thinking that might sound. I'm asking you this, and I'm realizing it's like some of this might be subconscious, but at the same time, hopefully you've reflected a lot on those things to be like, okay, here are the principles that I have brought over. So I'd love for you to speak about maybe when one or two of those things that you that you've taken to this investing space.
Yeah, a lot of them were kind of subconscious for a while there, but I've been asked this question before. I would say one is just, I hate to throw that word discipline around, but, I prefer it to be turning into a habit, because disciplines die, motivation dies and fades. But if you have habits, you can do quite a bit. So one of the habits that I stayed with for a long time, I haven't had a real job in like 6.5 years. I got out of the military a while ago now. One of those habits was I still got up early, you know, because if I could conquer my morning and get some things off my plate before the kids would wake up and my wife would wake up, like the rest of the day is pretty easy. But if I allow the kids to wake me up, now I'm in reaction mode all day long. I'm kind of grumpy because I want to get up and go pee and get a drink of water and maybe turn the coffee pot on before I have three kids asking me for toast and biscuits and candy and Pop Tarts and
Sure.
pancakes all at the same time. Plus the dog wants to be pet. So I'm like, I stay in like a reaction mode. So that's one thing right there. We could stop the podcast right now. Just get up early.
Just get up
Oh, well,
early.
Brent, I'm a night owl. Then okay, well, you better be very productive at nighttime.
Yeah, getting up early is a consistent one, I've heard, and this has been something that, anyway, I've noticed it makes a big difference for me too. So talk to me about that. Is that's before anyone's got up? Is that where you do your hour of work? I mean, I'm sure at this point it's multiple because that those systems and things have sort of compounded over time. But is that where you like to do your focus hour or focus block before everyone gets up?
Nope, not usually. I used to, yeah. When I was in the military, I had to be on base by 6 a.m. and start physical training, the PT. So I would get up at 4 a.m. and yeah, I'd get the work done. I give me like 2 hours before I had to be on base to get the work done. But now it's more like it's me time. It's just like, do my Bible study if I'm going to journal that day. And for years I've been on and off of journaling. I get a workout in. Right now, my workouts look like 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes of the hot tub, 3 minutes of the cold plunge, 4 or 5 minutes to warm up in the sauna while I'm changing, and then
Hmm.
get to the weight room for about 45 minutes. So really, that's just me time, really. And then my work day now is just more communicating with people, because things are like I have a team now. I'm very blessed. Like I have a team that does a lot of these things for me, because if I want it to happen, I take it off my plate and someone else is in charge of it and responsible for it. But that's kind of how my morning looks, and it's going to be for everybody. I'm sorry, it's not going to be for everybody. It's always going to change, and there's seasons of life for everything. So there's always a different season. So like this last couple of weeks, I've been sleeping in. I just hadn't been able to get it together because I got jet lagged, and so it's like it changes. It's always changing.
Yeah,
I don't get too attached to it.
that's an important one too, and not getting too attached to it. Well, how did you? So you have a team now, and I'm sure you've done a lot of videos on this, but I'm sort of curious while we're here. Who is? How did you think about? I guess it's two part, but the first one is I'm sure you got some. You brought over some experience on working and building teams as well from military days. That's probably true too, right?
Yeah, I think so. The management side of people, as enlisted, I was an NCO, and then I went officer, and that was really I really enjoyed that, because like you as an officer, and I don't know about any of the other branches, but you don't know jack diddly squat about the actual technical side of it, but you have to get people to take action. So, and those are your experts, your NCOs and your specialists. So it's kind of like the Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. So it's just yeah, I guess that maybe the military definitely helped out with that. And I don't want to exclude anybody that doesn't have military experience, but yeah, the military did a great job of making me realize that I don't have to know all the answers to buy a piece of land or buy a building. I just had to know the people with the answers.
Yeah, certainly. I didn't want to exclude anyone that doesn't have it. I don't have it either, but I think the breadcrumbs of the lessons learned can be the new target, and there's multiple
Yeah.
ways to get there, right? And so
Oh yeah.
that's that's uh that's why I kind of wanted to zoom in on that. So I love that you were talking about realizing that the realization that other people are the experts, not knowing jack diddly in this case, but respecting that you're working with professionals and let them be the professional there while you're the professional of the vision too.
But still trust, but verify as well.
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you know.
Trust but verify. If I could ask, who was your first hire for the team that you have now
Yeah.
at Landsharks? You're talking about email. Was it administrator first?
For Landsharks, the training, that first hire was actually a coach, to help me start a podcast. And guess what? The podcast didn't get off the ground. I got picked up by Wholesaling Inc., and I moved all my podcasts to the Wholesaling Inc. Podcast. So every Friday, I have a case study that
Oh,
is on the
cool.
Wholesaling Inc. podcast with a Landshark student. But my land business, and I used to buy houses as well. My first hire with that was an acquisition manager, someone to take the phone calls from this marketing that I was spending money on, and it wasn't even spending my own money, by the way. I was using American Express and Capital One. So I would mail all these mailers, and then I'd go on a FTX, a field training exercise, where we're not allowed to bring phones because the phones don't work in the mountains of Afghanistan, or ours didn't, anyways. So I get all these phone calls and waste all this money. So I was like, I need someone to answer these people, because that's the biggest thing in this business is you got to answer your phone if you're going to be an active player. Now, a passive person, like it's different, but so I hired a person that was 100% commission full time to take the phone calls, to go meet with these sellers and get the deals done. So, um, I think that like a lot of people will hire like an assistant. Whoever you hire, that person needs to help you bring in income. So, That's the main thing.
Yeah, it'd be a tough call to have in the middle of Afghanistan, huh? So,
Yeah.
but so it's a key point though. It's kind of evaluating your own skills, your own resources, who you are. Consistent theme, right? Of knowing who you are, what you need at that time. And if it's someone that answers the phone calls, get that. If it's someone to maybe help create more time as well for you, like you're talking about, some people get the admin side. You talked about email being a time waster, even if you don't have the Netflix or you check social or whatever. But if you need someone to help with that too, so kind of assessing what it is that you need. I'd be respectful of your time here, and so I guess sort of on closing, we've talked a lot of really great stuff. I'd love to know in the experience of learning to market, which it sounds like you were doing even while in military, thinking about a more of a future to building the systems and courses for the team to really learning how to build teams and I'll call it out of military teams, et cetera, and having this balance with family too. Looking back over the last X number of years, what is something that you would tell yourself when you were first starting out, having gone through this journey thus far? One or two nuggets of wisdom. Hey, Brent, I know you're just starting out as an investor. I know you're just trying to get your feet under you with this, but here are the things that you really do need to know to be as successful or even more successful than where you are right now.
Yeah. Pick one marketing channel and focus on that and dominate that. Don't try and do too much. Don't roll all your income back into the next deal or the business. Keep some of it aside, like a profit first system that Mike McAllowitz talks
Hmm.
about, and prepare for the taxes that are coming because, it's just for several years that I made so much money so quickly, so fast. Like I've been behind for a few years and I'm always like playing catch up with the IRS. Like, okay, I'm like, so where I would put all that money back in land and buildings. It's not that I don't have the money, but I just don't have it in a bank account. So when you get that first tax bill that's like over 100K, and you just bought a new building and it's like, oh God, what do I do now? So it's just, it's a couple of things, not to scare the heck out of people, but it's easy when you got a W-2 salary and they take it out without you thinking about it. So as business owners, we have to keep that in place. If you're like me, where it's like, oh, I got 50,000 cash. There's a land deal. I'll make 25 grand profit. There went the 50 grand cash, and you can't write off that land deal. So little things like that people don't think about when they're just like, oh, I just need to make an extra 50,000 a month or 50,000 a year. So it's almost like planning to where you will be. Um, and again, not to scare the heck out of people, but you got to plan for the tax man.
You got to plan for the tax man. Those Profit First and Clockwork, Mike Michalowicz, those are outstanding books. Good listens to as well, especially. Um, Good nugget of wisdom. And before we close here, what keeps you going these days? You're a family man. You're a multiple business owner. You probably love to see the people succeed. Probably love petting your dog even in the morning, even when he pisses you off. But, but
uh,
what keeps Brent going?
Yeah, man, it's so many things. I like to have a lot of fun. I like to go on trips, and this weekend we're going boating and airboating, and it's always something different. I just got off a elk hunt. So what an adventure that was! But I really, really, really enjoy getting people land sharks their first land deal. I like doing land deals. It's just like it's just I don't know. It's business and it's just creating things out of thin air is a blast for me. And then we get to help a lot of people along the way. So we're doing good things, donating good money. So I don't know. It's just so many things. It's hard to put an exact word to it. So good question.
It's hard work, but rewarding work, and that's part of the journey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Brent Bowers, Landsharks. Thank you, sir. Appreciate being here. Where can people find you?
Yeah, if you want to schedule a call, simply just go to thelandsharks.com and schedule a call. I ask you for your name, phone number, and email. And then if you want to see videos and stuff, I mean, hit me up on Facebook or Instagram. I always try and reply back to all the questions or all the messages.
Cool. We'll make sure all those are in the show notes. Go and reach out to Brent and team. Thank you, sir. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Path to Passive. We love connecting with our listeners and those on the path to architecting their wealth and improving their lives. Feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see in future episodes. Get in touch with us through email or Instagram. See you next week for a new episode.